morning of my 68th birthday, I woke up to the smell of bacon and eggs drifting up from my own kitchen, and for just a second, I smiled. Then I heard my son-in-law laughing at something on his phone, loud and easy, the way a man laughs when he doesn't have a care in the world. Which made sense, I suppose. He didn't. I lay there another minute, staring at the water stain on the ceiling I'd been meaning to fix for 2 years. My wife Lorraine used to say I'd get to it eventually. She passed 4 years ago. Breast cancer. 11 months from diagnosis to the end. And I still hadn't gotten to it. Some things you just stop seeing after a while. I'm Theodore Hale, 68 years old. Retired electrician, 31 years with the same union local in Columbus, Ohio. I own a 4-bedroom colonial on Birchwood Drive that Lorraine and I bought in 1987 for $112,000. Last I checked, it was worth just over $400,000. Not bad for a kid from Zanesville who started as an apprentice at 22. My daughter Serena is 34. She has her mother's eyes, and as it turned out, her father's stubbornness just pointed in a direction I never expected. She married her husband Nolan 3 years ago. He's one of those men who's always between things. Between jobs. Between opportunities. Between the last big idea and the next one. When they asked if they could move in after the wedding, just temporarily, while Nolan got his consulting business off the ground, I said yes without hesitating. She was my daughter. Of course I said yes. That was 26 months before my birthday. The consulting business never materialized into anything I could see. What I could see was Nolan's new Ram 1500, leased, parked in my driveway next to Serena's Audi that they'd somehow traded up to 8 months in. I could see the Instacart deliveries 3 times a week. Bags of organic groceries charged to the household card I'd added Serena to for emergencies. I could see the weekend trips, Nashville, Charleston, a long weekend in Scottsdale that I found out about when I noticed a $400 charge from a resort spa and asked Serena about it, and she said, "Dad, we needed a reset. You know how it is." I didn't know how it is. I didn't know how it was. I was eating store-brand soup and day-old bread from the Kroger markdown shelf and telling myself it was fine. I want to be honest about something because I've thought about it a lot since everything happened. I let it go on. I know that. Every month when I'd look at the credit card statement and see the charges, the DoorDash orders at midnight, the golf fees, the subscription boxes, I told myself Serena would figure things out soon. That Nolan just needed more time. That I didn't want to cause a rift. I'd already lost Lorraine. I couldn't stand the thought of losing my daughter too. So I said nothing. And the pile got higher, and I kept telling myself it was fine. It wasn't fine. I found out exactly how not fine it was on a Tuesday in October, about 3 weeks before my birthday. I was at the kitchen table going through the mail, actual paper mail. I'm old-fashioned that way, and I opened a statement from my credit union that I almost set aside before something caught my eye. There was a second Visa card listed under my account. I hadn't applied for a second card. I called the credit union, spent 20 minutes on hold, and a very patient woman named Angela told me that a supplementary card had been added to my account 8 months prior. Authorized user, Serena Hale. Not Serena Doyle, her married name. Serena Hale, my name. She'd used my name. I thanked Angela and hung up and sat at that table for a long time. Outside I could hear the TV in the living room, Nolan watching college football. Volume up the way he always had it. Like he owned the place. I looked at the statement again. $4,200 in charges I didn't recognize on a card I hadn't known existed. I didn't say anything that night. Or the next night. I'm not sure exactly what I was waiting for. Maybe some part of me was hoping there was an explanation I hadn't thought of. Maybe I just wasn't ready. But I made some phone calls. I called my attorney, a man named Jeff who'd handled my estate planning after the rain passed. I called my financial advisor. I had a long conversation with a very straightforward woman at the credit union's fraud department. I made notes. I made a plan, and then I folded the plan up and put it in my breast pocket and waited. My birthday fell on a Saturday that year. Serena had organized a dinner, invited her in-laws, a couple of her friends, Nolan's brother and his wife. 12 people in my dining room. She'd been cooking all afternoon. Real effort, the good dishes out, candles on the table. I told myself maybe I'd been reading things wrong. Maybe this was her way of making it up to me. Maybe things were going to be different. I was in the living room when Nolan came in from the garage. He had a bottle of beer in one hand and what I thought at first was a wrapped gift in the other, a small rectangular box, brown paper, tied with a piece of twine. He held it out to me with this grin I'd seen before, the grin he wore when he thought he was being clever. "Happy birthday, Ted," he said. He always called me Ted. I'd asked him twice to call me Theodore, or at minimum Mr. Hale. It never took. "Got you something." I took the box. Something shifted in the room. I don't know how to explain it except to say the air got different. A couple of people had turned to watch. I untied the twine, pulled back the paper. It was a can. Generic label, white with black text. Dog food. The cheap kind, store brand, the ones that sit on the bottom shelf. "Figure that's about right for a freeloader," Nolan said, still grinning. "You've been living here how long now, and what exactly do you contribute?" I heard someone draw a sharp breath. Serena came in from the kitchen doorway with a dish towel in her hands, and she didn't say stop, and she didn't say that's enough. She looked at the floor. My neighbor Paul, who I'd known for 19 years, pushed his chair back from the table. "That's not funny, Nolan." Nolan shrugged. "Just a joke, man. He knows I'm kidding. Right, Ted?" I looked at my daughter. She looked up from the floor and her eyes met mine for just a second, and then she went back to the kitchen. I set the can down on the end table. I straightened my cardigan. "Excuse me," I said. "I need some air." I went out to the back door and stood on the deck in the October cold for about 10 minutes. My hands were shaking a little, though not from the cold. I thought about Lorraine, what she would have said. She wouldn't have needed 10 minutes. She'd have handed that can right back and looked at Nolan in the way she had. That particular look she had. And the room would have understood everything without her saying a word. I always admired that about her. I learned too late. When I went back inside, I told everyone I wasn't feeling well and thanked them for coming. People filed out. Nolan clapped me on the back on his way past and said, "Don't be so sensitive, Ted." Serena hugged me at the door, quick and tight, and said, "I'm sorry, Daddy. He just has a stupid sense of humor," and I hugged her back and said, "I know, sweetheart," and meant neither thing. I went to bed, but I didn't sleep. Monday morning, I was up at 6. I had coffee. I fed the birds in the back patio the way I do every morning. I read the paper. Then I sat at the kitchen table and I made the calls I'd been planning for 3 weeks. The first call was to Jeff. I told him I was ready to move forward on the property transfer we'd discussed, specifically moving the house into an LLC I'd set up on his advice, with a formal occupancy agreement required for anyone residing on the premises. He said he'd have the paperwork ready by Wednesday. The second call was to the credit union. I spoke to the fraud department again. The unauthorized card, the one under my name that I hadn't applied for, I reported as fraudulent. They canceled it immediately. The charges were flagged for dispute. Angela from my first call wasn't there, but the man I spoke to was just as helpful. He also helped me remove Serena as an authorized user on my primary card. The third call was to my cell phone carrier. I'd been paying for Serena and Nolan's lines for 2 years, part of the family plan I'd added them to when they moved in. I removed both lines. Then I drove to the bank and made some adjustments to my accounts. I won't go into every detail, but by noon I had moved my primary savings to an account that had only my name on it, the joint household account I'd let Serena access. I drained it to exactly 0, transferred the balance, and left it open with a note for the next charge to decline. That afternoon, Jeff called me back. He said, "Theodore, are you sure about all of this?" He's a good man, Jeff. He's known me since before Lorraine got sick. I told him I was sure. He said, "Okay then." I was sure. He said, "Okay then." Wednesday morning. I did one more thing that day. I went to a building supply store and bought a new deadbolt for the front door and a new deadbolt for the back door. I installed them myself. 31 years as an electrician, I know my way around a tool, and I changed the garage code. Old habits. I've always believed a man should be able to take care of his own house. Tuesday evening, Serena knocked on my bedroom door. She'd been out most of the day. I heard her come in around 4, heard some conversation with Nolan in the kitchen, and then it went quiet. Now she knocked. Dad, can we talk? I opened the door. She looked like she hadn't slept either. Nolan's card got declined at Costco, she said, and my phone says I'm not on the plan anymore. Come sit down, I said. We sat at the small table by the window in my room, the one with 2 chairs that Lorraine used to sit at to read in the evenings. I'd kept both chairs. Serena had her hands in her lap. She looked young, suddenly. She looked like the girl she used to be. I want to talk to you about something, I said, and I need you to listen without interrupting, because this is hard for me to say. She nodded. I told her about the credit card. The one opened under my name. The $4,200. I watched her face go through several things, surprise first, then something else, something that looked like relief that it was finally being said. I didn't know he did that, she said. Her voice was quiet. I want to believe that, I said. Daddy, I swear to you. I said I want to believe it. I put my hand on the table, not touching hers, just near it. Here's what I need you to know. I have never, not for one day, regretted having you in this house. You are my daughter, and there is nothing in this world that changes that. But I have let things go on that I shouldn't have let go on. That's on me. I own that, and I am done letting it go on. She was crying by then. Quiet the way she cries. Always was a quiet crier, even as a kid. I told her about the LLC. I told her that Jeff was drawing up an occupancy agreement, a real one, with a monthly amount, first of the month, no exceptions, and a 60-day notice clause. I told her she and Nolan were welcome to sign it, or they were welcome to make other arrangements, but that the current arrangement was over as of the first of the month. Nolan isn't going to sign that, she said. That's his choice, I said. She wiped her eyes. Where are we supposed to go? Serena. I said her name the way I used to when she was small and asking me something I didn't have the answer to. That is not my problem to solve. That's what I'm trying to tell you. For 2 years I've been trying to solve a problem that was never mine to solve. And it didn't help you. It didn't help Nolan. It certainly didn't help me. I'm 68 years old. Your mother has been gone 4 years. I don't have unlimited time to spend being invisible in my own home. She didn't say anything to that. There wasn't anything to say. She talked to Nolan that night. I could hear the conversation from my room. Not the words, just the rise and fall of it. His voice getting louder, then quieter, then loud again, then a door closing, then silence. Nolan came to me the next morning. I was on the back deck with my coffee. He came out in a t-shirt, even though it was 50 degrees out, which was very much a Nolan thing to do. You're seriously doing this, he said. Good morning, I said. You're kicking your own daughter out because I made a joke. I looked at him over my coffee cup. You opened a credit card in my name without my knowledge and charged $4,200 to it. In the state of Ohio, that is credit card fraud. I'm not pursuing it legally, but I want you to understand what it is. The color went out of his face. I didn't think Serena had told him about that part. Look, he started. The occupancy agreement is on the kitchen table, I said. Jeff will be here Wednesday at 10 if you want to review it with him. If you prefer not to sign it, I need you both out by November 30th. That's 30 days. That's fair. He stood there a minute. Then he went back inside. Serena came out a little while later, wrapped in a blanket, her coffee in both hands. She sat in the other chair, Lorraine's chair. We watched a cardinal land on the feeder for a minute. He's not going to sign it, she said. I know. We'll figure out somewhere to go. Good, I said. I hope you do. I hope you find something good, Serena. I genuinely do. That's not sarcasm. I hope you find a place that's yours, where you can build something. I hope Nolan gets himself sorted out. I hope you two are happy. I meant it. Every word of it. She put her head on my shoulder the way she used to when she was small. We sat like that for a while. I'm sorry, Daddy, she said. I know you are, I said. I'm sorry, too. They were gone by the 28th. It turned out Nolan's brother had an extra room, which struck me as appropriate. Serena texted me from the car. "We're out. Please don't hate me." I called her instead of texting back, which took some courage on my part. And I told her I didn't hate her, that I loved her, that she was welcome to call me any time, that when she was ready to talk, really talk, just the two of us, no Nolan in the middle of it, I was here. She said, "Okay, Daddy." That was 3 months ago. She's called me twice since then. Short calls, a little awkward, but real. She told me last week that she'd started looking at jobs in healthcare administration, something she'd put off for years, while Nolan's various plans were the priority. I told her that sounded like exactly the right direction. She laughed a little at that, and I heard in her laugh something I hadn't heard in a long time, something lighter. The house is quiet now. I noticed that the first week, the quiet. It felt strange after 2 years of noise, but I sat with it, and after a while it started to feel like something else, something that had been mine all along, that I'd just forgotten. I got the ceiling stain fixed. Took me an afternoon. I don't know why I waited so long. There's a cardinal that comes to the back feeder every morning. Same one, I think. Or maybe a different one. An ornithologist. But every morning I make my coffee and I take it out to the deck and I watch him for a while. The cold doesn't bother me as much as it used to. I've started sleeping through the night again, waking up and finding the house exactly as I left it, having a bowl of whatever I want for breakfast without doing the arithmetic in my head first. I'm not a man who believes in clean endings or easy lessons. Life is more ragged than that. Serena and I have work to do. I have work to do. There are things I'd do differently if I could go back, things I should have said years earlier, ways I let my own fear of loss make me smaller than I needed to be. But I'm 68 years old. I'm a widower. I have a house on Birchwood Drive, and a cardinal on a feeder, and a cup of coffee going cold in my hands, and the morning is mine, and I earned it. That's enough. For now, that's enough. I keep thinking about that cardinal on the back feeder. He shows up every morning whether I deserve it or not, whether I've figured anything out or not, whether I've been a good father or a foolish one. He just comes, and I've decided that's the closest thing to wisdom I've stumbled onto in 68 years, showing up anyway, doing the next right thing, even when the previous thing went badly wrong. For a long time I told myself I was being generous with Serena and Nolan, but generosity without honesty isn't generosity. It's avoidance wearing a kind face. What I was actually doing was paying for peace, paying to not have a hard conversation, paying to not feel the particular loneliness of being in conflict with your own child. It cost me $4,200 I didn't authorize, 2 years of invisibility in my own home, and a birthday I won't forget for the wrong reasons. The bill for cowardice always comes due. I've learned that now, a little late, but I've learned it. What Nolan did wasn't just rude. It was a test. The kind people run when they've been allowed to get away with things for too long, and they need to know how far the limits actually go. I failed every test he'd run before that night by having no limits at all. That's on me. I handed him the permission and then acted surprised when he used it. The moment I stopped excusing his behavior and started naming it, fraud is fraud, regardless of who did it, everything clarified. For him, for Serena, and most of all for me. There's something that happens when you finally say the true thing out loud. Not the angry version, not the version designed to wound, just the actual truth, stated plainly. I told Serena I loved her and that the arrangement was finished in the same breath, and I meant both completely. That's the thing I wish I'd understood earlier. Honesty and love are not opposites. The most loving thing I could have done for my daughter was to stop making it easy for her to stay small. She's looking at healthcare administration jobs now. She laughed on the phone last week. I hadn't heard that laugh in 2 years. I spent 31 years as an electrician. In that work, you learn quickly that a system running on a faulty connection doesn't just fail, it degrades everything around it slowly, invisibly, until something finally gives. That's what I let happen in my own house. The fault was there for 2 years and I kept rerouting around it instead of fixing it. Monday morning after my birthday, I fixed it. Took about 4 phone calls and 1 uncomfortable conversation. Sometimes the repair is simpler than you built it up to be in your head. I'm not looking for anyone to tell me I did the right thing. I know what I did and what it cost and what it was worth. But if you're reading this and you recognize something in it, if there's a situation in your life where you've been rerouting around a fault for longer than you should, I'd just say this: the repair is probably simpler than you think. The conversation you've been avoiding is probably shorter than you've imagined, and the quiet on the other side of it, the morning with your coffee and your birds and your house exactly as you left it, that quiet is yours. You just have to go get it. The ceiling stain is gone. I fixed it on a Tuesday afternoon in November. Took maybe 90 minutes start to finish. I don't know why I waited 4 years. I think I do know, actually. I was waiting until I believed I deserved to.